The speedometer climbed past 150 miles per hour. The Lamborghini Urus tore through the Las Vegas darkness like a bullet, its driver oblivious to the catastrophe about to unfold. In seconds, Henry Ruggs III, NFL star, millionaire, 22 years old, once the fastest man in football, once an NFL first-round pick, once the pride of Alabama, would become the cause of an unthinkable tragedy. The Toyota RAV4 ahead didn't stand a chance. Metal crushed, fire erupted. And in that single moment on Rainbow Boulevard, a promising career, a woman's life, and countless futures shattered into irreversible tragedy and send shockwaves through the sports world. If you are new to this channel, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, like this video, and comment where you are watching from. But to understand how a young man with everything could lose it all in a single moment, we have to go back to where it all began. Henry Ruggs III was born on January 24th, 1999, in Montgomery, Alabama, a city where high school football isn't just a sport, it's a religion. Growing up in the heart of the Deep South, Ruggs learned early that athletic excellence could be a ticket to a better life, a way to honor your family and a path to glory. From the moment he stepped onto a football field, one thing was clear. The boy was fast. Not just quick, genuinely, breathtakingly fast. The kind of speed that makes coaches' jaws drop and opponents shake their heads in disbelief. At Robert E. Lee High School, Ruggs became a local legend, a track and football star who seemed to glide past defenders as if they were standing still. But Montgomery shaped more than just his athletic ability. It taught him loyalty, family values, and the importance of community. These were the foundations upon which his character was built, values that would define him long before fame entered the picture. In high school, Ruggs formed an unbreakable bond with his best friend, Rod Scott. They were inseparable, training together, dreaming together, pushing each other to be better. Rod wore number 10 on the football field, and the two young men promised each other they'd make it to the top together. Then tragedy struck. Rod Scott died in a car accident during their teenage years. The loss devastated Ruggs. He could have let grief consume him, could have given up on his dreams. Instead, he made a promise. Every success, every touchdown, every moment of glory would be dedicated to Rod's memory. Ruggs chose to wear number 11 because Rod wore 10, one number higher, one step forward, but always connected. After every touchdown, he raised 3 fingers to the sky, a tribute that became his signature celebration. This wasn't just about football anymore. It was about legacy, about carrying his friend's memory forward, about proving that even when life takes someone too soon, their impact can live on. Ruggs' exceptional talent caught the attention of college recruiters across the nation. But there was only one school that truly mattered in Alabama, the University of Alabama. Playing for legendary coach Nick Saban, Ruggs arrived in Tuscaloosa as a 4-star recruit in 2017, ready to prove he belonged among the nation's elite. At Alabama, Ruggs didn't just play football, he excelled at the highest level of college sports. Teaming up with quarterback Tua Tagovailoa, he became a vital part of one of the most explosive offenses in college football history. His speed created matchup nightmares for defenses. Defensive coordinators lost sleep trying to figure out how to contain him. In 2018, Ruggs helped lead Alabama to a college football playoff national championship, catching crucial passes and stretching defenses with his game-breaking speed. He finished his junior year with 40 receptions for 746 yards and 7 touchdowns, numbers that made NFL scouts take notice. But beyond the statistics, Ruggs earned a reputation as a team player, someone who blocked for his teammates, who celebrated their success as much as his own, who embodied the team-first mentality that Saban demanded. In January 2020, after 3 seasons at Alabama, Ruggs declared for the NFL draft. At the NFL Scouting Combine in Indianapolis, he put on a show. His 40-yard dash time of 4.27 seconds was electrifying, the fastest among all receivers that year. It confirmed what scouts already knew. Henry Ruggs III was a generational talent when it came to pure speed. April 23, 2020 was draft night, the moment every young player dreams about since childhood. The Las Vegas Raiders, searching for a dynamic playmaker to transform their offense, selected Henry Ruggs III with the 12th overall pick in the first round. He was the first wide receiver selected that year, chosen ahead of Jerry Jeudy, CeeDee Lamb, and Justin Jefferson, names that would become the subject of endless debate in the years to come. The contract was life-changing. 4 years, $16.67 million, with a $9.68 million signing bonus. At 21 years old, Henry Ruggs III was a millionaire, an NFL player living in Las Vegas, the entertainment capital of the world. Everything he had worked for, everything Rod Scott had dreamed about with him, everything his family had sacrificed for, it had all come true. Ruggs' rookie season in 2020 was a mixed bag, like most rookie campaigns. The COVID-19 pandemic created unprecedented challenges: no preseason games, virtual meetings, limited practice time. For a young receiver trying to develop chemistry with quarterback Derek Carr, these were significant obstacles. Still, Ruggs showed flashes of brilliance. He finished with 26 receptions for 452 yards and 2 touchdowns in 13 games. His speed forced defenses to respect the deep ball, opening up the offense for other players. There were moments, like his game-winning touchdown against the New York Jets, when you could see the superstar he was becoming. Raiders fans were excited. Social media buzzed with highlight reels. The future looked bright. With a full off-season to develop, year 2 would be his breakout season. Everyone could feel it. The 2021 season started exactly as predicted. Through 7 games, Ruggs had already caught 24 passes for 469 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was on pace for over 1,100 yards, the kind of season that earns Pro Bowl consideration and massive contract extensions. His connection with Carr was improving weekly. His route running was sharper. His confidence was growing. On the field, everything was clicking. The Raiders were competitive, sitting at 5-2, and Ruggs was a major reason why. Off the field, life seemed equally blessed. He and his girlfriend, Kiara Kilgo Washington, welcomed a daughter. Fatherhood added a new dimension to his life, a new purpose beyond football. He posted photos on social media, celebrating his growing family, his success, the life he was building. To the outside world, Henry Ruggs III had it all. He was living the dream that millions of young athletes chase, but only a select few ever achieve. But beneath the surface of success and fame, dangerous patterns were forming. Las Vegas is a city of temptation, a playground for the young and wealthy, and Henry Ruggs III, like many before him, was about to learn that one moment of catastrophic judgment can destroy everything. It started like countless other nights in Las Vegas. There were no games the next day, no practices, no team obligations, just freedom in a city designed for excess and entertainment. Ruggs spent the evening at Topgolf with friends and his girlfriend Kiara. It was supposed to be a relaxing night, hitting golf balls, eating food, enjoying drinks. According to later reports, Ruggs consumed alcohol over several hours. How much exactly would become a matter of legal record. Around 3 a.m., it was time to leave. This was the moment, the critical junction where a simple decision would have changed everything. Call an Uber, call a taxi, call a friend, call team security. The Raiders provided services for exactly this situation. Professional athletes had resources that ordinary people don't. But that's not what happened. Instead, Henry Ruggs III, with a blood alcohol level that would later be measured at 0.161, more than twice Nevada's legal limit of 0.08, climbed behind the wheel of his $250,000 Lamborghini Urus SUV. Kiara got in beside him, and they drove off into the Las Vegas night. What happened next was captured by security cameras, witness statements, and forensic evidence that would later be analyzed in excruciating detail. Ruggs accelerated, and kept accelerating. Rainbow Boulevard is a residential street with a 45 miles per hour speed limit. At 3:39 a.m., Ruggs was traveling at 156 miles per hour, more than 3 times the legal limit. At that speed, you cover over 228 feet per second. Human reaction time becomes meaningless. The vehicle becomes a missile. Ahead of him, 23-year-old Tina Tintor was driving her Toyota RAV4, simply heading home after a night out with friends. She had her golden retriever, Max, with her in the car. She was being safe, responsible, doing everything right. She never saw it coming. When the Lamborghini struck the RAV4, the physics were horrifying. The closing speed was so extreme that Tintor's vehicle didn't just crumple, it exploded into flames. The force of the impact was equivalent to hitting a wall at over 100 miles per hour. The sound was described by witnesses as like thunder or an explosion. Metal screamed, glass shattered, and immediately fire erupted from Tintor's vehicle. Ruggs' Lamborghini, despite its advanced safety features, was devastated. The front end was destroyed, airbags deployed. Both Ruggs and Chiara were injured, with Chiara suffering serious injuries that would require hospitalization. But they could get out, they could move, they could survive. Tina Tintor and Max were trapped inside their burning vehicle. Multiple witnesses rushed to help. They could see Tintor inside the burning RAV4. They could hear her screaming. She was alive, conscious, aware, terrified, as flames engulfed her vehicle. People frantically tried to break windows, tried to pull doors open, tried everything they could think of to save her. But the fire was too intense, growing hotter by the second. The heat drove everyone back. One witness would later testify about trying to get close enough to help but being overwhelmed by the flames. All they could do was call 911 and listen to Tina Tintor's screams until they stopped. When firefighters arrived at 3:40 a.m., just 1 minute after the crash, the RAV4 was fully engulfed. By the time they extinguished the flames, Tina Tintor and Max had burned to death inside the vehicle. At the scene, Henry Ruggs III sat on the ground, blood streaming from injuries, surrounded by police officers who immediately recognized the signs of impairment. Bloodshot eyes, the smell of alcohol, unsteady movement. A loaded firearm was discovered in his vehicle, another felony. His blood alcohol content was .161. Toxicology reports would later show THC in his system as well. And just like that, at 3:39 a.m. on November 2nd, 2021, Henry Ruggs III's NFL career was over. His freedom was ending, and one innocent woman's life had been extinguished in the most horrific way imaginable. News of the crash spread rapidly. By dawn, social media was exploding with reports. By afternoon, the details were confirmed. By evening, the sports world was in shock. The Las Vegas Raiders released Henry Ruggs III from the team within hours of the crash. The statement was brief and somber. The organization's thoughts were with the victim's family. Ruggs' name was immediately scrubbed from the roster. Sponsors disappeared overnight. His Adidas endorsement deal? Gone. His trading card values plummeted. Video game developers removed him from rosters. The business of sports moves quickly when tragedy strikes. But the real fallout was just beginning. The legal system was about to take over. On November 3rd, 2021, still hospitalized from his injuries, Ruggs was formally charged with driving under the influence resulting in death, a Class B felony, driving under the influence resulting in substantial bodily harm for his girlfriend's injuries, 2 counts of reckless driving, possession of a firearm while under the influence. If convicted on all charges, he faced more than 50 years in prison. This wasn't a minor accident. This wasn't a mistake with minimal consequences. This was a catastrophic crime that resulted in death. Ruggs' first court appearance came via a wheelchair, his leg injured from the crash. The images were jarring. A young man who days earlier had been catching touchdowns on national television, now facing a judge on charges that could end his freedom for decades. Ruggs assembled a high-powered legal team led by prominent Las Vegas attorneys. They had defended celebrities and athletes before. They knew the system. They began mounting a defense immediately. They challenged the blood alcohol testing procedures, arguing potential errors in collection and analysis. They questioned the speed measurements, suggesting radar guns might have been inaccurate. They filed motions to suppress evidence. They explored every possible legal avenue. But the evidence was overwhelming. Multiple witnesses, security camera footage showing the Lamborghini's speed, forensic analysis of both vehicles, toxicology reports, police body camera footage, and the undeniable horrific fact: Tina Tintor burned to death while trapped in her car. While media coverage often focused on Ruggs, the fallen star, the NFL player, the tragedy of wasted potential. Tina Tintor's story deserved equal attention. She was 23 years old, an immigrant from Serbia who came to America seeking opportunity. She worked at Target, living a normal life, pursuing her dreams just like everyone else. She loved her golden retriever Max more than almost anything. Friends described her as kind, responsible, and full of life. On the night of November 1st, she had been out with friends celebrating a birthday. She was driving home safely and responsibly. She had her entire life ahead of her. Her family's grief was unimaginable. Her mother issued statements through attorneys, asking for privacy while mourning the loss of their daughter and Max. They attended every court hearing, sitting in the gallery, ensuring their daughter wasn't forgotten amid the media circus surrounding the NFL star. For over a year, the case wound through Nevada's legal system. Ruggs made multiple court appearances, each covered by swarms of media. He appeared stoic, often expressionless, as prosecutors outlined their case and described the evidence in devastating detail. Behind the scenes, plea negotiations were ongoing. Ruggs' attorneys knew the evidence was overwhelming, a trial would be difficult to win, and might result in even harsher sentencing. The prosecution, while confident, also knew that trials are unpredictable and that Tintor's family deserved closure without the trauma of a lengthy trial. In May 2022, nearly 7 months after the crash, Henry Ruggs III entered a guilty plea. He pleaded guilty to 1 count of DUI, resulting in death, and 1 count of vehicular manslaughter. In exchange, prosecutors dropped the remaining charges. It was an acknowledgement of reality. Ruggs was guilty, the evidence was insurmountable, and prolonging the case served no purpose. But the plea was just the beginning. Sentencing would determine how much of his life Ruggs would spend behind bars. Nearly 2 years after the crash, Henry Ruggs III stood before Clark County District Court judge to learn his fate. The courtroom was packed with media, Tintor's family, Ruggs' family, and observers who had followed the case from the beginning. Outside, news vans lined the street. This was the culmination of a tragedy that had captivated the sports world and horrified the nation. Tina Tintor's mother delivered a victim impact statement that brought the courtroom to tears. Speaking through pain that no parent should ever endure, she described her daughter's dreams, her kindness, her love for Max. She spoke about the phone call that shattered her world, the funeral she had to plan, the empty chair at family gatherings. She described the horror of knowing her daughter burned alive, trapped and terrified. She asked the judge to impose the maximum sentence, to ensure that justice was served for Tina and Max. Other family members spoke as well, each adding to the portrait of a life stolen, a family destroyed, and a loss that could never be repaired. Ruggs' attorneys then presented their case for leniency. They acknowledged the tragedy, the pain, the irreversible nature of what happened. But they argued that Henry Ruggs III was more than one terrible decision. Character witnesses testified about his generosity, how he donated to charities, how he helped teammates, how he stayed connected to his community in Montgomery. They spoke about his youth, his lack of any prior criminal record, his remorse. They mentioned his infant daughter, born after the crash, who would grow up without her father if the sentence was too severe. They argued that while punishment was necessary, destroying another life wouldn't bring Tina Tintor back. Then came the moment everyone was waiting for. Henry Ruggs III's statement to the court. He stood, his voice breaking, tears in his eyes. He looked toward Tintor's family and spoke words he knew would never be enough. "I sincerely apologize to the family and friends of Ms. Tintor. I made a mistake, a terrible mistake that I will never forgive myself for. Not a day goes by that I don't think about the pain I've caused. I take full responsibility for my actions. I wish I could go back and make different choices. I'm deeply sorry." The courtroom was silent. Some saw genuine remorse. Others saw empty words from someone who had destroyed a life through reckless selfishness. The judge took her time before speaking. When she did, her words were measured, clear, and final. She acknowledged Ruggs' youth, his lack of prior record, his apparent remorse. But she also emphasized the severity of his actions. Driving at 156 miles per hour while intoxicated, causing a death in the most horrific way imaginable, leaving a family shattered. The sentence, 3 to 10 years in the Nevada Department of Corrections for DUI resulting in death, plus a consecutive sentence of 0 to 5 years for vehicular manslaughter. Total potential sentence, 3 to 15 years, with eligibility for parole after serving the minimum 3 years. It was less than the maximum, but more than the defense hoped for. It meant Ruggs, now 24 years old, would spend at least the next 3 years, and possibly the next 15, in prison. As deputies led him away in handcuffs, Henry Ruggs III, former first-round pick, former NFL star, former millionaire, became inmate number 4,426,382 at the Nevada Department of Corrections. Henry Ruggs III is currently serving his sentence at Nevada's High Desert State Prison. His days are now measured not in touchdowns and contract negotiations, but in counts, meals, and the slow passage of time behind bars. He will be eligible for parole in 2026 at the earliest, but parole is not guaranteed. The parole board will consider the nature of his crime, his behavior in prison, and whether he poses a risk to society. Given the severity of what happened, early release is far from certain. In prison, Ruggs is no longer a celebrity. He's simply another inmate who made catastrophic choices. The speed that made him special on the football field means nothing here. The millions he earned are gone, spent on legal fees, settlements, and the costs of his defense. Beyond the criminal case, Tina Tintor's family filed a wrongful death lawsuit against Ruggs. While the exact settlement amount wasn't publicly disclosed, Ruggs will carry financial consequences for the rest of his life. No amount of money can replace Tina Tintor or bring Max back, but accountability takes many forms, and financial responsibility is part of that equation. The Ruggs tragedy sent shockwaves through the NFL. League officials, team executives, and player associations all responded with renewed emphasis on player safety programs, not just from physical injury, but from the dangers of impaired driving. Many teams implemented stricter policies about alcohol consumption, mandatory rideshare programs, and increased education about DUI consequences. The NFL Players Association increased its messaging about resources available to players 24/7. But everyone in the league knew that rules and policies only work if players follow them. And players are human beings, young, often immature, suddenly wealthy humans who don't always make the best decisions. The 2020 draft class became a cautionary tale. Justin Jefferson, selected 22nd overall, became a superstar. CeeDee Lamb, selected 17th, became a Pro Bowler. Jerry Jeudy, selected 15th, had a solid career. And Henry Ruggs III, selected 12th, the first receiver taken, became a convicted felon. Scouts and general managers would debate for years whether the Raiders made a mistake selecting Ruggs over other receivers. But the truth is, nobody drafts expecting tragedy. They saw his speed, his potential, his talent. They couldn't have predicted what would happen on November 2nd, 2021. Ruggs' daughter is growing up knowing her father is in prison for killing someone. Family members make trips to visit him, sitting across from him in a prison visiting room instead of celebrating holidays and birthdays together. His girlfriend Kiara, who was injured in the crash, has had to rebuild her own life while dealing with the trauma of that night and its aftermath. His family in Montgomery, who once celebrated his NFL success with pride, now carry the weight of shame and loss alongside their continued love for him. And always in every conversation, in every visit, in every letter, there's the unspoken reality. A woman died because of choices Henry made. In Las Vegas, Tina Tintor is remembered not as the victim of Henry Ruggs, but as a person in her own right. Friends and community members hold memorial services on the anniversary of her death. Flowers regularly appear at the crash site on Rainbow Boulevard. Her family established initiatives to combat drunk driving, turning their grief into action that might prevent other families from experiencing similar pain. They've spoken at schools, at community events, anywhere people will listen, about the consequences of impaired driving. Max, the golden retriever who died with Tina, is remembered too. Animal lovers across the country were moved by the image of a loyal dog dying alongside his owner because of someone else's recklessness. The question everyone asks, how does someone with so much to lose make such a devastating choice? The answer is complicated and uncomfortable. Henry Ruggs. The third wasn't a bad person who did a bad thing. He was a person who made an unthinkably bad decision with catastrophic consequences. He had resources most people don't have. Team services to provide rides, money for any Uber, anywhere, anytime, friends who could have driven him. But none of that mattered when he made the choice to drive. Was it arrogance? A belief that his reflexes, honed by years of athletic training, made him different from ordinary drunk drivers? Was it simple impaired judgment from alcohol? Was it the invincibility complex that often comes with youth and fame? Probably all of these things, combined with the toxic environment of Las Vegas at 3 a.m., where excess is encouraged and consequences seem distant. Some argue Ruggs' sentence was too lenient. Tina Tintor burned to death. She suffered unimaginably in her final moments. 3 to 15 years seems insufficient for taking a life in such a horrific manner. Others argue that excessively long sentences don't serve justice. Ruggs was young, made a terrible mistake, but has shown remorse and has his own life to rebuild. Would 30 years in prison better serve society? There are no easy answers. The criminal justice system attempts to balance punishment, deterrence, and rehabilitation. Whether Ruggs' sentence achieves that balance depends on your perspective. Henry Ruggs III's story is tragically not unique. Every year in America, thousands of people die in drunk driving crashes. The CDC estimates nearly 11,000 deaths annually from alcohol-impaired driving. Each represents a Tina Tintor, someone with dreams, family, and a future stolen by someone's choice to drive impaired. The Ruggs case gained attention because of his celebrity status, but countless similar tragedies happen every day, involving ordinary people, that never make national headlines. What does it say about our society that we continue to lose so many lives to something entirely preventable? What does it say that despite decades of education, strict laws, and available alternatives, people still choose to drive drunk? These are uncomfortable questions without satisfying answers. Henry Ruggs III will eventually be released from prison. If he earns parole, he could be out by 2026 at age 27, still young enough to rebuild some kind of life. What that life looks like remains uncertain. He'll never play football again. The NFL doors closed permanently. No team will sign a player convicted of vehicular manslaughter, regardless of their talent. But he could potentially become an advocate against drunk driving. He could share his story at schools, at community events, anywhere people will listen. He could use his infamy to prevent others from making similar choices. He could seek education, develop new skills, find purpose beyond football. He could be present for his daughter, even in a limited capacity. He could work toward redemption, knowing it will be a lifelong journey, or he could emerge from prison bitter, broken, unable to move forward. He could struggle with adjustment, with finding employment, with the weight of what he's done. Statistics show that many released inmates struggle to reintegrate into society. Which path he chooses will define the rest of his life. But no matter what Henry Ruggs III does with his future, one truth remains unchangeable. Tina Tintor is dead. Max is dead. A family is permanently shattered, and no amount of remorse, rehabilitation, or redemption will ever bring them back. That's the ultimate tragedy of this story. It's not just that a promising NFL career ended. It's that a life was stolen, violently, horrifically, preventably. Every choice has consequences. Every action creates ripples. And on November 2nd, 2021, Henry Ruggs III made choices that created a tsunami of pain that will never fully recede. The story of Henry Ruggs III is a modern tragedy that resonates far beyond sports. It's about potential wasted, lives destroyed, and the devastating consequences of a few seconds of catastrophically poor judgment. It's about a young man from Montgomery, Alabama, who honored his dead friend's memory by reaching the pinnacle of athletic achievement, only to throw it all away in a moment of reckless selfishness. It's about Tina Tintor, an immigrant chasing the American dream, whose life was stolen when she was simply driving home. It's about how fame and fortune don't insulate anyone from the consequences of their choices. And most importantly, it's a reminder that every time someone gets behind the wheel while impaired, they're not just risking their own life, they're gambling with the lives of every innocent person on the road. The next time someone at a bar or a party is tempted to drive after drinking, they should remember Henry Ruggs III, not because of his lost NFL career or his millions or his fame, but because of Tina Tintor's screams as she burned alive, trapped in a car, unable to escape the consequences of someone else's choice. That's the real lesson of this tragedy. That's what should keep people from making the same mistake. One decision, one moment, irreversible consequences. Today, Henry Ruggs III sits in a Nevada prison cell, counting the days until a possible parole hearing, carrying the weight of what he's done. Tina Tintor rests in a cemetery, her grave visited by family members who will never stop grieving. And on Rainbow Boulevard in Las Vegas, life goes on. Cars drive by the spot where everything changed. Most don't know what happened there, but occasionally flowers appear, placed by strangers who understand that every life matters and every preventable death diminishes us all. The story of Henry Ruggs III serves as a permanent reminder. Talent, wealth, and fame mean nothing in the face of basic human responsibility. And the choices we make in seconds can destroy lives, including our own, in ways that can never, ever be undone.